Hey everybody, it's June 12th and Nintendo's big Nintendo Direct for E3 2013 was yesterday. And I want to talk a bit about the new Mario game that was revealed. There's other things I could be doing now, but time's of the essence in regards to my thoughts on this being current. And I know I've seen some responses on my videos already. And, well, uh, Super Mario 3D World. Let me talk about the actual Nintendo Direct when we're reviewing it at Nintendo World. Now, when we're reviewing it, the first maybe first third of the presentation, the lag throughout the presentation was horrendous. I mean, we get like lag like every once in a while, usually when we watch it there, but I've never seen it as bad as this. And I think that's because for the first time, I think everyone was just watching the stream at the same time more so than usual, since this was their Nintendo's main presentation for E3. So the Pokemon X and Y announcement, like we saw barely enough to know what was going on. We saw when the fairy type was announced. We saw, we saw enough, but it was very laggy. And we saw Pokemon and Me. I'll make a whole other video about that. And then when the Mario trailer started, uh, well, let's see. Well, I think Iwata. I haven't watched the whole Nintendo Direct since I've been home. I watched it twice at Nintendo World though. When it was apparent that a new Mario game was about to be announced, and then it lagged for like a while. And I just looked on Twitter to see what was going on, and apparently it was lagging for everyone just as bad because Nintendo apologized afterwards, and people were saying that people at home were getting lags at the exact same moments or something like that on the North American Nintendo Direct feed. So I looked on Twitter and I saw a thing from Nintendo America says, Super Mario 3D World, announced because they have the tweets ready to go, obviously. And I was like, and I saw that as it was like the trailer was just barely starting, and I thought, like, that's not what I was expecting. I wanted something that I wasn't expecting, but when I saw Super Mario 3D World, I thought, this is not what I'm expecting. I'm not. Let's see. I'm not. But it's not necessarily what I wanted from the sounds of the title. So let's see what they have. And I felt excited when I read it. I'm like, okay, this is what Super Mario 3D World. I think I have a good idea of what they're gonna show, but let's see. And then a few seconds later, the trailer started. It was lagging like crazy, but we saw enough that I got an idea of what it was. The music was great. But we saw like when Mario turned into got the cat suit. We saw when he ran up the wall for the first time. We saw that they have four players back, and it's very reminiscent of Super Mario Brothers 2. And I'm glad it didn't lag for this when Mario jumped onto the flagpole, and I was looking, I'm like, he's not gonna make it. He's like gonna hit the bottom, and he gets near the bottom, and then he scrambles up to the top in the cat suit. And I'm like, okay, that was cute. Now then later on, we got to see the trailer properly once the actual video went up that you could just watch on YouTube or whatever. We watched it a second time, and when I saw it properly, I got the gist of it, and then I guess I might as well just talk about this now. Then I actually got to play it later. Um, I had to play it using the Wii Remote Plus, and I know a couple of years ago I had an experience where I bought a new PlayStation 1 and I got Crash Bandicoot 1. This is the first time I'd really played Crash Bandicoot 1 or 2 since those were still current games. Because I had PlayStation and N64 back in the fifth generation, and what I and I when I was playing it, I'm like, wow, how did I ever put up with using a D-pad and a 3D platformer? It felt so wrong. And that's basically what I felt when I was playing Super Mario 3D World with the D-pad on the Wii Remote Plus. I'm glad. What I heard is that final version is going to support the Wii U Pro controller for multiplayer. I'm very glad to hear that because whoever had the gamepad had I think a totally different experience from what I had. That game needs analog. A 3D platformer, a 3D Mario needs analog. I did not feel like I had much precision or whatever. But as I was playing, as far as the actual design of the game, regardless of me using an ill-suited controller, I was there was lots of when I saw the trailer, there was lots of surprising things. There were lots of people that got the whoa, what's that? That's new, and when I was playing the game, I saw a lot of things that I wasn't expecting. There was a lot of surprise and a lot of newness to it. Um, like there's this part where you go into this sort of side warp, this warp pipe into this sort of side area, and you have to run over all the tiles, and they all light up. Once they all light up, you get like a bonus points or whatever. Just little things like that, and the way you play, the way Cat Mario feels when you control him. There was a lot of surprise. I was pleased with what I played. It did not play well because I was using the Wii U. I was using the Wii Motion Plus controller instead of the actual gamepad or some kind of analog controller like the Pro controller. But I liked what I played. I only got to play the first level, and they only got to play the first level because they only let us play the first level. They had like several levels on that you could play, but they like made us only play the first level. There were a few people at the event with press clearance from Nintendo's PR company. They were allowed to play the second, a different level. But aside from that, I want to say like about the nature of the game, the fact that it's based essentially a sequel to Super Mario 3D Land. I know I said what I wanted was something more along the lines of Mario 64 or Mario Galaxy, and that's I still want to see something like that, and I'm not worried that that's not eventually going to happen. And I know I made the entire argument already, like why I wanted something like different from Super Mario 3D Land, and how Mario 3D Land was like everything about it. It was a great game. I loved it, but a lot of the things about it were uniquely originated from the fact that it was being displayed in stereoscopic 3D and the fact that it was on a portable system. And I think I read something with one of the producers or the whoever was in charge of that team that was making that game specifically said that we wanted to make the level short enough to be played between two subway stops because a lot of people are going to be playing this as they commute. And that being said, what I saw did not disappoint me. It's not if I could have chose what I wanted without having seen the trailer and what the game they are making is. If I could have chosen, I would have chosen something more along the lines of Mario 64, just on a bigger scale. But this I'm happy with because it looks like they have a lot of new ideas. It looks like fun. That's why I wasn't disappointed. It wasn't what I wanted, but what they showed me and what I played, it was fun, and I really look forward to that. And really, what I want from this, I already stated my concerns about why I wasn't necessarily keen on this being a 3D Land sequel. I want the levels to be longer. Now that you're on a home console, and you're gonna be when you turn this thing on, you're probably gonna be playing for between a half an hour and an hour. Make the levels longer, and let there be more exits. Mario 3D Land, number of the levels had different exits, but I think of it this way. I remember Super Mario Land on Game Boy, and then 2 years later, Super Mario World came out on Super NES. Now we have Super Mario 3D Land coming out on the Nintendo 3DS, the new Nintendo's newest handheld. And they specifically said they named it 3D Land, harkening back to Super Mario Land on the original Game Boy. Now, so we have Super Mario Land, then 2 years later, Super Mario World on the Super NES. That was a lot bigger, a lot more expansive, more of an adventure type game. Now we're gonna have Now we have Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS, and then 2 years later, we're gonna get Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U, Nintendo's home console. What I'd like to see is for the levels to be longer, and for there to be more exits to find. Because if they have lots of branching paths in the level and ways to find hidden exits, then to me that like if you play Super Mario World, I've said this before, finding all the exits is a very similar to finding all the stars in Mario 64 or Mario Sunshine or Mario Galaxy. So if they make the levels longer and have lots of exits and secret areas to find, I think it'll in its it'll essentially sort of satisfy sort of a lot of what I wanted in terms of like having a more adventure exploration type Mario. But another thing I think to consider is that they've only been five 3D Mario games up to this point, not counting Super Mario 3D World, which isn't out yet. There's no real established sort of status quo for what a 3D Mario game can be and what it could be in the future. like we had the sort of the Mario 64 idea for Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine to it, and then we sort of had the Mario Galaxy idea with you know with Galaxy 1 and 2. And then when there are a lot of things that uniquely molded Super Mario 3D Land to be what it was, but that was a very what Mario 3D Land was a very solid concept for what a 3D Mario platformer can be. It's something they hadn't really explored yet, doing it more like in the style of a traditional platformer, only in with 3D environments. And I think that that is something that definitely deserved to be explored. And I think it's great that they're going to be able to explore that idea more and expand on it and improve upon it on a home console. And there's I mean Mario's not going anywhere anytime soon in terms of like they're going to stop making the game. So in the future, I'd like to see something maybe going back to sort of the 64 kind of concept. But I think that let me gather my thoughts for a second. Um, I think with the levels, I mean, what I played, the I think what I saw in the trailer and the little bit that I played, it feels like it feels obviously it's a bigger screen, but it feels like bigger than Mario 3D Land. And if they design the levels, keeping in mind that it's not stereoscopic 3D this time, because they were a lot of elements that were made specifically with that in mind, in terms of just like the level design. I mean, if they do more great level design, more great sort of puzzles and sort of obstacles. That's one of the things I loved about Mario 3D Land. They sort of had so many new obstacles and elements to navigate through. If they bring back a lot of that kind of stuff, and I really, the parts I loved the most about Galaxy 1 and 2 were basically a lot of what you see in the trailer for Super Mario 3D World. And a lot of what I played in Super Mario 3D Land. I mean, Super Mario 3D Land, a lot of those areas were very similar to areas that were found in Mario Galaxy, and I mean minus some of the gravity based elements. So this isn't what I would have. This isn't what I wanted, obviously, since I made that video explaining what I wanted. But what they showed me looked. There was that sense of surprise for me. It looked like fun. I had fun playing. Well, I didn't have as much fun as I could have playing with the D-pad. But when I actually get play it on the Wii U gamepad or a Pro controller with the proper analog, I know I'm gonna have fun playing it, and I'm really excited because this time on Wii U they didn't really have this infrastructure, so to speak, up when Mario 3D Land launched, but for this new game, they could potentially support this with DLC, just like they're doing with New Super Mario Bros. U, where they could add a couple of worlds every other month that might be $2 or $3. Like that would I'd pay $3 for a new world of a Super Mario 3D Land. So if they could support this, with like DLC sequels or $20 and you get basically an entire new game, that latches onto the first game, or you might get a new world every few months. And I think that would be a good way to keep the Mario 3D, like the Mario 3D concept, because which is sort of like seemingly the successor to the Mario Galaxy concept, which is the successor to the Mario 64 concept. Um, the I think they can keep that fresh for a while, keep adding content to that, because that's something that could really never. I mean, you could obviously get sick of it, but you could always. I think they could find lots of new ideas and new ways and new things to make new ideas for new worlds and new levels and new ideas for Mario 3D World for years to come. So with a game like this, I hope they make it so they could support it with new, worthwhile additional DLC content in the future, so that they won't have to necessarily do a whole like 1 or 2 year development cycle just to make a sequel to it, and then as opposed to doing something new with like their main team. And I want to place this in perspective a bit. Like the Mario Galaxy 2 team, they they made Mario Galaxy. It seems like they went straight from Mario Galaxy 2 to working on 3D Land, and that then they come on. Then they went from 3D Land basically straight to working on this new game for Wii U. And I'm not saying that Mario 3D Land that. I mean 3D World. It's like it's like a lazy game to make, or that it doesn't take effort or something. But it seems like to go from straight from 3D Land to maybe working on some of those concepts they weren't able to use in that and make a sequel to 3D Land on the home console. I think seems like they might be able to get that done a lot quicker than if they had went for like a theoretical Mario 64 2. And with that in mind, and frankly, with Wii U not selling as well as it could be, Nintendo really needs to get a 3D Mario game on there as soon as possible. And Mario 3D Land, the sales response to that was very strong. I believe it was stronger than the Galaxy games. I know Mario Brothers Wii was had a stronger response than the Galaxy games, but Mario 3D Land, it really broke sales records for Mario games. I believe it broke some kind of sales record. Definitely like one of the fastest selling 3D Mario games, or the best selling handheld Mario game, or something like that. So when you have a strong response to that on 3DS, that basically salvaged the system from being like really an underperforming system that people were concerned about its long term health, similar to the position Wii U is in now. I think this could be a game that really starts to turn the tide for Wii U. Digging its feet in the ground and getting rolling, as though it hasn't already. But just like getting the momentum, it needs to be a long lived platform with lots of great games on it. So in terms of the health of the system, I think that this is a good move, and because once this team finishes this game, they get the 3D Mario game out there, and starts selling systems, then that takes the pressure off them, and perhaps they could spend 2 or 3 years making something more along the lines of Mario 64. Like I said, it's not what I expected, but I'm happy with what I did see. The lag on when the reveal happened on Nintendo Direct, the severe lag sort of ruined the magic of that moment. The magic that I felt when they first revealed Mario Galaxy, when they first revealed Super Mario 3D Land. But I definitely felt like that same sort of vibe from this trailer. I'm glad it's coming out, and that's it. So that's my feelings on that, and yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. And also, I do apologize. I said I'd get out my camera, but I can't find the tripod. The lighting takes forever to set up, and I know the sound's probably going to be unsynced. And so, just basically, like, you could go ahead treat this like a podcast. Just have this playing in the background. It's really my voice you're listening to, because there's not much going on in the video itself. So I probably should have said that in the beginning. So that's it. Once again, thanks for watching.